Hello, who is here with me? I want to make sure my lights are there and you can. Okay, who's here? Who is here? Who is here? Who's here? Who is here with me today? So let me know. So if you could chat with me, I would love that because I'd like to know who is with me today for yoga therapy for osteoporosis. Hi, Beth. Nice to see you. Well, see you. How are you doing? How's everything going? Happy spring. Yeah, aren't we almost there? I was just talking to someone about that. I said, are we out of winter yet? And we will be right on, I think March 21st is the official day. So we're getting there. I tried to come on a little early. It looks like it's right at 11. So anything in particular that you'd like to discuss, Beth? I'd like to know how things are going for you. Let me see. I try to take my glasses off, but that is not going to happen. Wow, that's great. Hi, Stevie. Nice to see you today. Yeah, well, I honestly, Beth, I thought, oh, is that the way that you guys, the slang for Noder, that's what I thought, Noder Kari. I'm like, okay, maybe that's what they call North Carolina, but I guess not. Yeah, typos, or if we talk or type too fast or something. How are you, Stevie? Anything to discuss, ladies? Today's a beautiful day here in SoCal, also known as Southern California. Really clear, beautiful blue skies. Not sure what the temperature is. I didn't go out today for a walk. Quite often I walk. Last night I went out at a sunset walk. And because we sprang ahead this weekend, it was really light for a long time. And it's like, wow, this is so nice. I think it was almost until 7 p.m. that the sky was light. Just so nice to have that, when you have that extra daylight. And that's why we're doing this, right? I think that this is the actual time that we should be, right? Don't we go into daylight savings in the winter? And that time frame is really not what a lot of the world does. It's just what the farmers, I think here in the States. I did read about it once. I can't remember. Yeah, the sunset was great last night. I have a really good class in store for you today. So I'm looking forward to this. Once I go back there, I can't see anything. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And not everybody that's watching this video watches it live. And before I came on, I was looking at how many views, how many hours of viewing, I believe in the last month, and it said 390 hours. And I thought, wow, 390 hours of taking care of our body, our mind, and our soul, and practicing yoga. And the more people I speak to in my functional health coaching space, where we are running functional labs to help people be healthy, the more I realize just how we don't have stress management techniques. We're not raised with that. We're not raised to learn how to manage our stress, or the fact that we need to do that. And the practice of yoga has so many facets of that. It has the physical practice, it has the breathwork aspect, and then it has the meditation. And so such an amazing practice. I've always said and believe that yoga is the answer. Not just showing up on the mat. People think that the word yoga or yoga is let me go to the mat and do my yoga. Yoga is a way of living. Yoga is bringing yourself to the present moment and integrating all parts of yourself. It's connecting you to you small self to you bigger self, your body, your mind, and your soul. So when you practice yoga, you could be doing that when you're walking outside, doing a walking meditation. You could do that when you tell yourself, wait a minute, things are going crazy and going out of control. I need to bring myself back to this present moment. That is yoga. So thank you for joining me. Thanks for watching any of the videos that I share. Learn what you can, because this is tremendous healing tools that you're learning along the way. And then specifically, because we're focusing on bone health, every week I focus on some particular aspect of bone health. So that's what we get when we practice weekly. Listen to Stronger Bones Lifestyle podcast, where you will hear amazing speakers in the fields that I choose that are so important to support our bone health. So listen to some of the episodes there and share with friends. Share this information with friends if there's people you know that could benefit from what you are experiencing. All right, I'm going to go back there since I know that there's more people here. And like I said, we know that more people view this. So for today's practice, yoga therapy for osteoporosis, stronger hips is the intention for today's practice. So we will need certain props for the practice today to get the most out of the practice. Even if you have a very strong practice and you say you think or normally do not use a chair, I would love for a chair to be part of today's practice for you, because we're going to need that at different times of the class. And then at the end, it's a nice way to relax the hips, either to have legs up the wall or to have legs up the chair. So we will need a chair for today's practice. We will actually begin our practice with a chair. And then the other props that we use will be a block and a strap, and then a blanket. And I do believe that the blanket is one of the best props, most necessary and most useful props in the practice of yoga. So we're going to begin the practice today with relaxing our hips. We're going to make this practice be about stronger hips, lots of attention and detail to the hips. So we're going to focus beginning to relax that area, to sink the hip joint deep into the sockets by bringing our legs up on a chair, or you could choose to do this with a wall. So it's up to you what you decide to either do, legs up the chair, legs up the wall. And you could even put a pillow or a bolster underneath your pelvis, especially if you have a tall chair and you have, you're in more of a petite package. So that, according to comfort, would be what we would look for there. A couple things I want to say about coming on the chair. As always with our bone health, maintaining our safe spinal space from right below the heart to the belly button, the most fractured site in the body, raising your awareness to the need to have space here always throughout the day, no matter what you do. So when you come down, keeping that space, coming down onto the ground, and then you bring your legs up the chair. And the important thing here to get yourself in the alignment that is important to get that, what we're going for here, is that your entire lower legs are on the chair. So you want the backs of your knees, the backs of your upper thighs to press into the chair. And then have your knees be a little bit wide apart. Feet could be closer together than the knees. If you don't have a space for your feet to go through the back of the chair, then put your legs longwise, turn the chair to the side. And then this is another important aspect. Only have the blanket underneath your head and neck area, not underneath your upper torso. And then one more facet would be, if you want to correct your posture, start to use less support behind your head, only to the place where you have comfort and not too much discomfort. So as you start to lower, if you have rounding in your spine, your head may be farther away from the ground. So if you do start to take away some of that support, only do it to the place where you have comfort. And then press your arms into the ground, lift your torso up so you can slide your shoulder blades towards the spine. Now, two choices here. You could bring your arms out to the side, which will start to correct posture, open up the shoulder area, the chest, shoulder joint. So that may be an option. Or another option would be to put your hands on your belly and let your arms be alongside your body. So for mental grounding, for balancing mental energy, if you were in a place of a lot of mental energy, a lot of thoughts, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, putting your hands on your belly could be a really nice way to start. So choosing what is appropriate for you, what is your intention, what are your needs, and choose the correct one. Then lifting your head, lengthening the back of your neck, tucking your chin towards your chest. Begin to breathe in and out through the nose, closing your mouth. Arriving, beginning your practice. beginning to go inside, beginning to connect your mind and your body. And bring your awareness to your head, to your neck. Let's do a little gentle movement side to side, bringing your awareness from your mind into your neck. Take an inhale. As you exhale, mouth is closed. Slowly let your head roll towards the right. The whole entire exhale. Then the whole entire inhale to come back up to your neutral position. And then exhaling the whole entire way through the movement with your breath. And then back up. And start to notice what you notice. Feel the pressure of your head on the ground as it makes an arc like the shape of a rainbow from side to side. Feel the stretching that's taking place in your neck. Releasing the congestion in the upper back and neck, clearing the cobwebs in the upper back and neck, and moving the fluids of the ears, moving the head, even with the eyes closed, from side to side, changes the position of the head. And this plays a role in our balance. Bring yourself through one more movement. And then bring yourself back up to center, breathing through the nose. Bring your awareness to your left leg. Let your left leg be heavy. So feel the left support, the support on the left side, the calf, back of the knee, the heel. And really let the pressure of your leg go, the weight of your leg go. Let the upper left leg bone sink nice and deep into the socket. Bringing your awareness over to the right leg, to the right calf, the right heel. Let the weight of the leg be supported by the chair. Let the upper right leg release deeply into your hips. The right hip joint, let the ball of the femur bone sit really deep in the back part of the socket. Bring your awareness to the sacrum, the center of your pelvis. Feel that connection of your sacrum. Notice if you feel any pressure, any tension on either side of your SI joint. Breathing in and out through the nose. Letting the femur bones slide deep into the hip joint. Nice and relaxing and healing for the hips. The front part of the hip joint is where all the pressure is. That's where the weight-bearing forces come. So let your hips sink deeply. Then gently with your abdomen, press your belly towards your spine to try to flatten your low back a little. And inhale to release. Do this on your exhale, gently pressing your belly towards your spine. It's going to add a slight posterior tilt to your pelvis, trying to press the top of your pelvis at the back towards the ground. Inhale to release. Feel yourself rocking forward and backwards in your pelvis towards the top edge of your pelvis on the exhale, And on the inhale, back towards the tailbone. And just notice what that feels like inside your body. Gentle, activating the core. Feel yourself activating the pelvic floor, cinching in your waist, drawing the pubic bone up to the belly button, pressing the lower ribs back towards the ground, and inhaling to release. Feel that action. You activate pelvic floor, cinch in your waist, activate the pubic bone lifting up to the belly, lower ribs pressing down to the ground. Noticing what you notice, noticing symmetry from side to side, noticing any relief that comes into the lumbar spine, gently adding flexion to the lumbar spine, and activating the core to make this action happen. Do 5 more movements like this. And allowing yourself to come back to a neutral position. Again, feeling the heaviness of the legs in the socket, feeling the pressure of the sacrum on the ground. If your hands are wide, bring them to your belly. Spread your fingers so your thumbs are up by your lower ribs. Let the pointer fingers touch. Let the pinkies be down by the legs where they attach. Start to breathe down to your belly. So you breathe to your palms. You feel your belly pressing towards your palms. See if you can breathe so much that you actually get your fingertips to lightly spread apart from each other. Finishing the breath you're on, take 5 more breaths like this. Give the breath back to your body to breathe, subconsciously breathing you. Be a witness and notice where your breath is when your body breathes itself. Bring your awareness to your fingers, toes, your hands, your feet. Start to bring movement into your body in whatever way feels appropriate. And then bring your knees into your chest. Feel the low back pressing into the ground. When we bring our knees in, we tilt our pelvis back. We add flexion to the lumbar spine. Bringing your legs up into the air and shake your legs in the air. So furthering this aspect of relaxing the hips really deep in the sockets. Bringing in relaxation there. And then also relaxing the pelvis, the sacroiliac joints. As we move our legs, there's one side and the other. So we want to get that joint to be relaxed. And then the low back and the muscles that are part of this. Take your legs, spread your legs apart, point on the inhale, and on the exhale, flex. Point strongly so you feel a strong stretch in the front of the feet. As you exhale, the center of your heels reach up towards the sky. You point your toes, and then the heels reach up towards the sky, pointing and flexing. Then bringing yourself into a stable place, roll your ankles around, keep your leg bones straight. Don't let the legs move at all. Only the feet move on top of the leg bones, which means you're articulating the ankle joint. And then go in the other direction. We want and need the joints of the ankles to be able to be limber and move, because when we start to challenge our hip and work on our hip, we're going to be in a place of balance, and we need that communication to be free. And then touch one foot down to the chair and then the other. See if you can start moving towards straight legs, reaching through the heel, starting to warm up the posterior chain, the back of the body. And try to get your legs to be right above your pelvis, which will actually then activate the core. You could take your hands here, feel the very base of your midsection, right above the pubic bone. Feel how those muscles are activated. These are your pelvic stabilizing muscles, your deep core muscles, transverse abdominis. Some of the only muscles in the body that are actually in a horizontal pattern. Most of our muscles are linear up and down. This muscle group goes side to side, working on that stability of the pelvis. And then both at the same time, if you can, really making this effort, make it work. I feel all of that work at the back of the legs, feel my calves, and even then the Achilles tendon, which then goes into the plantar fascia. The whole entire body is connected. Warming up this communication, and then let your legs go up in the air. Try to get the soles of the feet to be up towards the sky, and then do a little emulate walking. So push one foot up and then the other. You're going to feel this on your back of your body, right where that SI joint is. If you have to have a slight bend in your knees, that's okay. If you can work with the legs out of the pelvis, a little bit more challenging for hip flexors to hold yourself in this position, for core to hold the legs up there. So starting to work some of the deeper core muscles. And then go ahead and bend your knees, bring your knees into your chest, rock side to side. Let's come on to the side, cradle your head in your hand. Take your hand on the ground. Make sure you do not pull up with your head, but rather you use the strong upper body to push yourself up to a seated position. And then bring yourself all the way up. So we're going to clear our space, moving the chair off to the side, coming down onto the ground with the props, start warming up the hips, start challenging the hips. Then we'll move up to all fours, and then from there to standing to do deeper hip joint work and pelvic work, and focusing on this part of our body. So when you come up to move your chair, come up, make sure you keep that nice safe spinal space, and move your props off to the side. And then get your block and your strap. We'll start here in the seat because we're here in this position. We'll do the boat pose, Navasana. And the Navasana starts to warm up this area. So let's start off establishing that. I'd like you to use a strap for this because it'll make it a little bit easier. We'll also activate the lateral chain muscles of the hip joint, strengthening the side of the hip. And this will help with the front of the body, and the side will have more muscles helping us in this Navasana known as boat posture. So take your strap, put a loop in your strap. If you don't have the ability to loop your strap, then tie it. So you could tie this around your legs as well. Something where you get a real firm hold. If you have exercise bands that you like to use, you could use those. Use more of the firm ones so you can get a real nice tension when you press. Now rock back and forth side to side. Feel the pelvis. You're on one side and then the other, and then come back to center where you're evenly balanced. This is a posture of balance. You're balancing on the base of your hips, and you're using your core for this. So walk your feet back, bring your legs up, and push out on your strap. And then from here, you determine what this posture will look like for you. So you push out on the strap. If you'd like to try to take one hand off and then the other, you could come into this variation. If holding on is something you need to do, you could hold on with all fingertips, or even try just one fingertip. Or you could even explore taking one hand off at a time. Lift your heart towards your knees. So try to draw the knees to the heart to the knees. Push out on the strap. You could have your feet flexed, or you could have them pointed, whatever seems to give you the most support. Take one more breath, and then bring yourself out. Take off the strap. We're gonna come down onto the ground. A lot of people seem to like to roll down, so let's roll with awareness, maintaining the safe spinal space in the spine. For this, you're gonna need your core to be active. So as you lower down, you may need to hold on, or you may be okay not doing this. Activate the core, rolling through the sacrum to the top of the pelvis and then all the way down. Or you could turn to the side and come down if that's more appropriate for you. And then draw the knees up one at a time. Take your hands on top of your kneecaps, on top of the knees, and then push the knees away so your arms are holding your knees. Even shake your knees a little here. Your arms are holding your legs. They're on top of the knees, not to the side, on top of the knees, and you are holding the weight of your legs. So feel that you're holding the weight of the legs. Inhale with the straight arms. Exhale to draw the knees into your chest. Inhale to straighten. Exhale to bend. This is Apanasana. You are passively tilting your pelvis, bringing in lubrication to the lumbar spine. When we do hip work, the next joint up that could receive that tension would be the low back. So it will actually, the SI joint is embedded in the pelvis, and then the low back above that. So it's really the spine is the next set of joints up from the hips. And then bring yourself to neutral. Your arms are straight. You're going to inhale, and as you exhale, draw your knees in. Move them apart, push them away from you, bring them together. In, apart, away from you, together. In, apart, away from you, together. Turn this into a circle and let your legs go along for the ride. So let your arms do the work here. Rolling the hip joint around deep in the joint. Getting that lubrication of synovial fluids. One more circle in this direction. And let's go the opposite direction. Inhale, take your legs apart, bring them towards you, bring them together, push them away. Out, towards you, together, away. Inhale and exhale. Turn this into a circle. Let your legs go along for the ride. Notice what you notice with your pelvis moving back and forth. And then bring yourself back to neutral. Put your feet onto the floor. Let's come into Windshield Wiper. Windshield Wiper is going to stretch the internal and the external rotators, muscles that move the hips out into a spread leg position, and then the muscles that move the legs in. So let your feet be mat distance. Get your arms up to the side in a scarecrow arm position. And then as you move your legs to the side, you roll onto one buttock. You'll feel the stretch on the opposite side. And then you exhale back to center, contracting your core. Inhale, other direction. So exhaling back, inhaling into the stretch. Feel this. You're going to feel that stretch all the way up into the obliques. You're in the hip joint and you're in the core muscles, in the back muscles. The next time you come to the left, stay there. Let your legs be at the left. Let your head look to the right. Take your right hand, flex your right wrist as if you're shooting webbing like Spider Woman or Spider Person out of the webbing away from you. And then that right hip joint, push it up towards the sky. Push that right knee straight down away from you to lengthen the right leg in the hip joint. Stretching the hip, warming up the hip, warming up the right side of the body. Mouth is closed, breathe in and out through your nose. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's go to the other side. The legs go to the right, the head goes to the left arm comes up off the floor just a little. Reaching through the heel of the hand, push the left knee away from you, push the left hip up towards the sky. Feel that stretch down the left thigh all the way to where the knee is. Getting that rectus femoris, which is one of the hip flexor muscles. Feel your left side stretch here. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. We're going to do a inner thigh hip stretch here. So for this, you're going to come on to your belly, roll over to your belly. And then you're going to take your leg out to the side. So the leg comes directly off the hip. Your ankle is directly underneath your knee. You could fold your hands one on top of the other, put your head on the back of the hands, and then keep pushing that hip joint towards the ground with your awareness, not with your hands. So opening up the front of the hip joint, you're stretching the inner thigh, the adductor muscles. This is a little bit more of a gentle way to get this stretch. Good for hip joint health. And then if you want to do a little bit when you're here, you could work on tilting your pelvis while you're here. So on the exhale, activating your core to tilt your pelvis. You may feel a bigger stretch on the opposite hip. You may feel it on the same hip. And explore this. One more. And then let's go to the other side. So you slide the leg out to the side, letting the leg come directly off your body, pressing that hip joint to the floor with your awareness in your body. And then adding a little bit of tilt by activating your core, pointing the tailbone away from you, trying to flatten out the low back or push the low back up towards the sky. And then last movement. And then go ahead and bring yourself back onto your back. Draw your knees into your chest just to neutralize your hips, your pelvis, and then bring your feet back down. So we're going to do a posture to pull on the pelvis, right where the hip, the back part of the hip. We're going to use the hamstring muscles to pull. So we're going to do the big toe stretch here and using the strap. Keeping the knee straight will ensure that the work is happening down where the leg attaches to the body, so right where the hip joint is. So let's take the strap on the right foot. Bring the strap to the arch of the foot. Walk your hands up so your arms are straight. Don't hold down here. You get more force. You could apply more forces when you hold up here. If you'd like to take your left leg straight, go ahead and try that. Keep the right leg straight. Wrap your hands around. So pull the leg down deep into the socket. Push the leg away. Really push that right knee away from you. And let's enter this posture by drawing the leg towards the wall behind you. Keep your low back away from the floor. So do not let your pelvis tilt backwards. So if your pelvis tilts backwards, you're going to be able to go even farther. But try to do this in a neutral pelvis without tilting your pelvis backwards. Pull the strap down. Feel that real strong connection of the right buttock in the floor and push the leg away from you. So you're pushing away and pulling back, creating as much force at the back of the thigh as you can, especially where the tushy attaches to the body. The leg attaches to the tushy, that area, right at the pelvic area. So push your right buttock into the floor, push the right leg away from you, and pull the right leg back. Create a lot of stimulation. Take one more breath. And then put a bend in that leg. Now we're going to pull on the inner part of the pelvis, the adductor muscles, right where the hip joint is. So we want a nice limber, lots of mobility in this area. Put the strap in the right hand, slide your hand down the strap. Keep your leg elevated. If you're not quite as flexible, you could put a block here to rest your leg on when it comes out to the side, or a bolster. And then let's enter this posture. Push the left leg or the left foot into the ground as you let the right leg go out to the right, keeping your pelvis stable. Hip bones are pointing up towards the sky. Using your core to push your pelvis into the ground. Pushing into the arch part of the strap, leg is moving up towards the wall behind you. Feel that tension now on the inner thigh as you pull on your pelvis. You could put your left hand on your left hip bone, use the hand to push the hip down, and then activate the deep core muscles to help stabilize the pelvis as well. The right thigh, if you push the top right leg away from you towards the foot part of your mat, and at the same time, you pull the strap up towards the wall behind you. Create as much tension as you can. Take one more breath. And then bring your leg back up. Let's switch sides. Put the foot in the strap, the left foot in the strap this time. Wrap your hands around the strap. Straighten the right leg if that's appropriate for your body. Finding what is appropriate for your body. Coming into the very active posture right away. Push the leg away from you. Push the knee away from you. Pull the leg down and then guide that leg back towards the wall behind you. Try to create a lot of tension at the back of your leg. Pulling on the bones with the hamstring muscle group. Stabilizing your pelvis, pushing away, pulling back, creating a lot of force, a lot of work. Go to a place of uncomfortable so that you feel that tension, and keep your low back away from the ground. So don't let your pelvis tilt back. You're pushing your leg away, pulling it back, pulling it down. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and release. We're going to come into the lateral, moving the leg to the side. So move if you need into a place where you can let your leg go pretty long and out to the side. Lengthening that leg out to the side. I'll show you here, if you don't have quite enough range of motion to get really long, you could come with your leg on either a wall or a chair, so it allows you to find that neutral pelvis, not letting the right side fly off the wall. And then only pushing the pinky toe edge, then try to push the arch there, feeling that extra stretch come into the leg. So doing what's appropriate, finding the right place for you. Right hand on the right pelvis, push the right hip bone down, and then activate the core to do this. So letting that left leg or any leg you need when you're doing this stretch to be on a chair or on the wall can be helpful to keep the leg straight, to get that real strong stretch to come into the adductor muscles. Take one more breath. And then bring your leg back up to center. Take the strap off. Bring your knees into your chest. And then bring yourself back. So we're going to do a hovering twist to use the core muscles in a twisted position, because trunk stability and core really important when we start to move our hips around. And this needs to activate wherever your hips are to keep your whole body safe, your lower spine safe. Because when we start to do hip stuff, the next set of joints up is the core. So take your block, you're going to bring your block in between your lower legs and then flex. So I've got the wide part of the block there, which gives that nice hip joint distance. Fingertips are on the ground. Let your legs come in either to a tabletop or a little higher, and then slowly let your legs go towards one side to where you feel that you have to do a lot of core work to manage this. Once you find your location, stay there. Squeeze the block, activate your core, push your belly button towards your spine to manage holding this hovering twist. Go to the safe place, because this is going to go into the back. Push your belly button towards your spine. Hug your lumbar spine with your core muscles. Squeeze the block, flex your feet. So you could either be with the bent legs a little bit easier, or as you start to unbend your legs, you add more weight, more pressure for your core to stabilize your trunk here. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bring yourself back to center, bring your knees back in, take a break. And then however you'd like to enter this side, you can keep your knees in the tabletop, you can lift your legs up, squeeze the block. And as you start to enter the twist, you're going to feel the work that your body has to do. Go to the place where you can manage this. Manage this in a held position. Knees are either bent or going closer to straight, towards straight, whatever feels appropriate for you. This is a revolving twist. Push your belly button to your spine. Protect your spine as you hold yourself in this hovering position. Heart is up towards the sky. Rib cage is on the ground, pointing up towards the sky. You're tilting your pelvis to the side, and you need your core muscles to help stabilize you and hold you in this position. Works the adductor muscles, which are part of the muscle group that supports strong hips. Take one more breath. Bring yourself back to center. Take the block out. Bring your knees into your chest. Come into a happy baby. Soles of the feet are up towards the sky. Legs are spread wide. This is going to stretch more of those muscles in the hip joint area. Flattening the low back to take some of the tension out of the back that may have happened from that posture. And then bring your feet onto the floor. So take your strap. We're going to do a bridge posture with a strap. The strap is going to activate the lateral chain muscles and especially those side hip muscles. So strengthening the spine, strengthening the back of the body, and strengthening the hips with this posture. Take the strap, put the strap in your legs so that you have about a fist distance between the strap, and then bring your feet onto the floor. So let's come at this from a different direction this time. We're going to use the block for this. So you need to take your blanket away from the back of the head. Use the arms into the ground to lift your rib cage up, slide your shoulder blades in, lift your head, lengthen your neck. Walk your feet closer to your body, and then lift your pelvis up and put the block underneath your pelvis. When you lift your pelvis up, first tilt your pelvis back and place the top of your pelvis on the block, and then let your sacrum touch the block. So you start in that tilt, and then you let your sacrum come. This is going to put you in that more neutral place and do a little bit more stretching of some of the muscles and the other tissues in the pelvis. Really important to have functional hips and stable hips and balanced hips. Now you can lift your chest up again, slide the shoulder blades closer so you get very narrow across the top of your body. Then bend your arms, palms face each other, fingertips up towards the sky. Lift your head, lengthen your neck. So try to feel the bottom part of your head where you feel the tension. When we come up into bridge, we want the weight to go to the upper back, not into the head and the neck. So you have to really bend your rib cage area, the thoracic spine, to get that to stay nice and safe. Walking your feet back towards your body. Press all parts of your feet into the floor. Now press out into your strap. Press out into your strap. Try to tilt your pelvis here. Push your feet into the floor. Push out on the strap. Now squeeze your tushy. Lift your pelvis up. Now start to push your arms into the floor so your ribs come up, bending your rib cage. This is bridge. Really push out on the strap a lot. Make that be the emphasis today in your bridge. You're pushing out on the strap. Pushing your knees away from you, lengthening the front of the body, contracting and activating the back. Try to push your feet into the floor so that the weight pushes to the upper back area. And then bend that upper spine. Really press your arms in. Let your upper arm bones help you. Take 3 more breaths. Push out on the strap. Push your feet into the floor. Push your arms in. Really bend the upper spine. And then slowly bringing yourself down. Let your pelvis come back onto the block. Let your hands rest on your belly. Lift your head, lengthen your head here. Lengthen your neck. Go ahead and bring the blanket underneath your head. We'll come into a position to stretch the front of the hips. So take your legs straight. You could leave your strap on if that's okay for you. Go slow as you lengthen to make sure your body feels okay. Now we're stretching the front of the hips. If taking your arms overhead feels okay for you, you could do that. Reaching through the toes, reaching through the fingers. You could push out on the strap to help keep your hips safe, just to activate the side of the hip joint. Really trying to draw the ribs away from the pelvis. Make sure the blanket is only on the head, not on the upper body, or no blanket at all. So you could even have no blanket here. And then come into heels are reaching away from you, and the heels of the hands are reaching away from you. Stretching your body, try to draw the ribs away from the pelvis. Take one more breath. And then go ahead, bend the knees. Bring the blanket behind your head. Take the strap off your legs. And if it's too precarious, you could take the block out from under you. And then bring your legs in the air. Let's shake the legs. So you either have the block under or not. You have to do what's right for you in your practice. Depends on the range of motion in the body. Depends on your comfort of moving your body. How long you've been practicing. How strong your practice is. So even though I guide you through different movements, find what's safe in your body. Then push your feet into the floor, lift your pelvis up, take the block out, bring your pelvis back down, and draw your knees into your chest. There's also something about having that block underneath the pelvis where we compress tissues. We either obstruct or stop the flow of certain fluids or nerve conduction, and then when you remove it, you open that up. So it has a tendency to potentially unblock some blockages in our body as well. And then bring yourself onto your side. And from here, pushing with your strong upper body muscles to bring yourself up. So checking in with how you feel after that first part of the practice. Take the props down away from you for a second. And then bring your blanket onto the mat. Come onto your hands and knees. Point your fingers are forward. Take your foot back and stretch, bending the toes. Look forward on your mat. And then the other side. Again, reaching through the heel. And then bring yourself back. Come up to stretch your wrists. Weight bearing on the wrists can cause some tension to develop in the wrists. So we're going to do a plank posture because this is an anterior front body position. We're going to move the legs if you have that ability, because that'll really add a lot of strength into the front of the hip joint. If you need to do the modification, if you have the knees and the shins and the feet on the floor, you could still do some leg movements. The important thing with plank is that you maintain this part of your body. So where the core is, lower ribs and pelvis, we want to keep trying to draw or activate the core so that you push back up and you take away the rounding or the flexion in the spine. So you want to make sure you don't hammock in your body when you're in plank. So whether you're in the modification or the full variation, so come into whatever is going to work for you. Either you're up here or you have your lower legs on the ground, of course, with a blanket underneath your knees. So do what's appropriate for you. And then your gaze is forward. And then activating the core, so push your feet into the floor and your hands into the floor and try to draw them towards each other to activate the deep core muscles. From here, you're going to take your left foot, if you can, or left knee, and bring it out to the side using the hips to do this. And then do the same thing with the right. And back to center. So you got to work on trunk stability. Try not to let your trunk dip or sway as you go out with your legs. And only do this if it's appropriate for you. And then try to slow it down to make it a little bit more challenging for the glutes, for the hips, for the core, for the muscles. Wherever you are, bring yourself to a static hold. Push through the heels. Push away from the floor with the hands and the feet. Slide the hands and the feet towards each other. And then go ahead and bring yourself down. Coming into a rest position, whatever that means for you. You either kneel on your heels or you could be up on your shins. Close your eyes. Breathing down to your pelvis. Mouth is closed. Take one more breath. So we're going to come to standing today through a down dog because that's a deep hip flexion, unless you need to come up a different way. So if you need to come up some other way, do that. Otherwise, we're going to do the down dog, do the hip flexions, have your legs spread wide, keep your heart lifted, start to warm up your hips in that bending position and bringing in that awareness for you on what is proper hip bending. And then bring your hands onto the ground wide, your feet wide, take your knees back in the blanket. And then you're gonna bend your hips to bring your tushy in the air and come back down. Bend the hips to come up and the hips to come down. One more time, hips are bending, not the spine. Your gaze is forward, don't let your head flop. Pushing your heels one at a time towards the ground, lengthening the pinky edge of the heel, bending your hips. Keep your legs wide. So walk your feet right now so that they're as wide as your mat, and walk your hands as wide as your mat if they're not already. Then you're going to start to push your body weight back. Start to walk your hands back, letting your feet touch the floor. Let one hand at a time come up on your thighs. Stay here. You're going to go up slow, giving your blood pressure time to calibrate so you don't get dizzy. And you slowly bring yourself up, unbending your hips to do so. Let's clear the space, get the chair. So getting the chair, let's come to sit on the chair. We sit all the time, so we're in this deep hip flexion. So let's use the chair. From here, we're gonna come into chair posture from the chair. Now, if you're tall, if you happen to be 5'6", 5'7" or above, or if you have a lot of issues with the hips, elevating your seat, so folding a blanket and coming up and down from a blanket or from a block, will set you up for a little bit more success. Really hard to come out of a 90 hip and knee. So do what's appropriate for you until you get a little bit stronger and able to do it without those things. Bring your feet together, zipper them up, bring your toes and your feet closer to the chair than your knees are. And then let's bring the hands forward and just sit up to a little bit, not too much momentum, but a forward back. Let your heels push into the floor when you do this. And then in the next one, you're gonna come up into chair. Your seat is back pretty far. You're bending pretty deep in your hip joint. Your hands are forward and reaching up. Take your toes off the floor, push your lower body back, and then bend deeper if you can, closer to the chair. You know that it's there. And then push your heels into the floor, point your tailbone down to protect your low back. Sitting a little deeper if you can, really deep chair. Lots of deep hip work, glute work, low body work, all the important parts of you that need to be healthy, strong for hip mobility and hip strength. Reach long with your fingers, reach back with your tushy, and go a little deeper if you can. Take one more breath, and then bring your hands together, bring yourself down onto your seat, take a break. Bringing your legs into and out of flexion. This next posture we're going to do is called goddess. And doing this from the chair can bring us from a pretty low place. So we're going to come, goddess posture, we're going to come up into goddess like this. Now, to be this low might be a challenge. To rise up from this may be a challenge. We've done a lot with the adductors to stretch them, to open them, so you hopefully have enough flexibility there. If this is too challenging for whatever reason, you have issues in your knees or your hips or your feet, you could stand behind your chair and lower down into this, into the right range of motion in your hips. Coming from this deep seat is a pretty challenging place to be. And you could sit back in your chair to do this. You could sit forward or back. I find backwards maybe a little, not necessarily easier, but just as easy as being forward. So first, let's take our hands together in prayer. Push the feet into the floor and bring yourself up off the seat. From here, bring your arms up into goddess. Try to point your tailbone down, push your torso back. Push your knees back, bend as low as you can. The lower you go, the harder it is on the joints, the more work it is in the hips, in the knees, the more work it is on the glute muscles, the leg muscles that mobilize, stabilize your hips. Lift your heart, body is straight up and down. Smile. Push your knees back, take one more breath, and then bring yourself all the way up. Bring the back of the chair to face you. Catch your breath from that last posture. Let's find Tadasana, mountain pose, posture of alignment. We need this for all of our postures that we do because everything comes out of this. So lift your toes up, spread your toes. You're only about 3 or 4 inches or 2 inches apart from your feet. Push your feet into the floor. Push your heels, both of them. Pinky toe edges, both. Feel like you're ripping the floor apart a little bit, and then push the toes into the ground. Hands are down. Push the top thighs back and the tailbone down. So tilting your pelvis or bringing it back into a neutral. Reach down with your fingers, long with your spine. Arrange your head on top of your spine and neutral neck. So the chin is parallel towards the ground. Feel like you're ripping the floor apart, pushing your top thighs back. Tailbone down, hands down, arms are back, heart is lifted. Mouth is closed, take some deep breaths here. Take one more breath. Let's balance in a hip. So let's come onto tree, balancing in your hip joint, one at a time. So wherever, if you need your chair, start with that leg that's near the chair in case you need to touch. So move your chair to the weakest side, wherever your weakest leg is. And then from there, you push your body to your weakest side. You bend your toes. Opposite knee moves away from you, and you bring your foot up in between your ankle and your knee. Push the floor away. Tree posture, one of the most traditional postures in yoga, tremendously balancing, amazing strengthen, balance, great posture. One that we could and probably should do every single day. One that you could do with daily activities, brushing your teeth, washing your dishes, standing on the phone, or even taking out that intentional time every day to do a 5-breath tree or a 10-breath tree. Find a focal point, find your stability in your gaze. Take one more breath. And then bring your knee forward, dismount gracefully. So hold the balance the whole time. Don't just let go. And then bring your foot down. If you need a chair, take it to the other side so it's near the leg you're going to stand on in case you need to touch it, if you feel that you need a little support. Pick your toes up, spread your toes. Push your body weight to the other side. Knee bends, knee to the side. Bring your foot up in between your ankle and your knee. Coming into tree on this side. Pushing away from the ground. Noticing the movement. We all have movement in our body. And if you look at a tree in nature, they don't stand still, there's movement. And then the more wind that there is, the more movement. Wind, the energy of wind represents a lot of things. It could represent the energy of your mind. Are you in a stable mental place? Are you grounding your mental energy, which is going to help you then find that grounding balance in your body? It's all related. Unstable mind can contribute to unstable balance. Find your focal point. When it's time to come out, one last breath. With ease, with grace, dismount, come out, back to mountain. And then release. So let's get the block. We're going to do some weight-bearing single leg balance, which is going to put a lot of pressure on the hip in different locations. So first we're going to do the warrior 3, loading up the hip in a forward folded position. You determine how deep you'd like to go. So bring the chair on the mat, bring the block onto the chair. We're going to bring the feet together, so finding mountain posture. And then from here, bending forward at your hips. Your hands may be on the chair, or you may be able to put right hand on the block, left hand on the chair without rounding your spine. You decide. Push your body weight back and take your right foot back behind you, and then lift your right leg up. So if the hand on the block is too much, or you need to go a little deeper to get that leg to lift, you could bring yourself down. Try not to rely on the back of the chair. this part here, because you want to try to use your body for balance. Push your body weight back so you're truly in that left leg, lifting the right leg. Now this may be good enough for you, or you may want to explore lifting the left arm off the chair. Gaze is forward of the chair. Don't let your head hang. Lift that right leg, flex the right foot. Push your body weight back so you are in that left leg. Take one more breath. When you come down, you bring the left hand down, you bend the right leg, you bring the right leg down. Do not bend your spine, unbend your hips. Bring yourself back into your Tadasana mountain. Using the block or not, it's just a different level depending on what you need. From here, push your tushy back, bend your hips forward. Bring your hands onto the chair, or you could bring your left hand onto the chair. Then you're going to push your body weight back, take your left foot back, and then lift your left leg. Gaze is forward. Hip lights are pointing down towards the ground. Toes are pointing down towards the ground. Do not open your hip to get the leg to come up. That could put you in the side of your hip joint. You want square hips so the hips are down, pointing down towards the ground. Push your weight back so you're in the right foot. If you want to lift up the right arm, that diagonal patterning, starting to strengthen the postural muscles in the back of the body. Flex the left foot, reach long with the right hand, look forward to the seat. Take one more breath. Bring your leg down. You could bend your knees to unbend yourself back up to center. Find Tadasana. Stack your joints. Mountain pose. So we're going to do Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. We just balanced on our front hip joint. Now we're going to balance on the side hip joint. So you could do this posture with the block or with a chair. Having a wall is really helpful. So let's go to, let's do left leg because we just came from the right leg. So set yourself up so that your left leg that you're going to balance on, bringing your left foot parallel to the wall or facing the chair, and then bring your hand onto the seat. Activate your core to lift your right leg into the air. Bring your right arm up in the sky. So you could keep your hand here on the chair. For those of you that would like to go down to a block, you could come up on the block. So you could go down onto the block from here, or a little bit more challenging, you may need to start over and come up. Turn your heart forward, turn your hips forward and your heart forward. So you are balancing in the side of your hip joint, putting pressure in the top of the femur bone, in the pelvic bone, and then lift that right leg in the air. Feel the balance, feel the challenge. This is strength, balance, flexibility. Take one more breath. To come out, you bend the standing leg, you roll back forward in your hip, keep your spine neutral, keep the movement in your hips, and then you bring yourself up to the other side. Block on the ground. For those of you that use the block versus a chair, I'll demo with the block on this side. So the right foot is forward. You bend forward at your hip. Keep your spine long. Activate your core to bring your leg up. Flex your feet forward. Turn your body forward. So bringing the gaze forward makes it a little bit more challenging. Keep that leg lifted. Bring your arm up into the sky, or keep the hand on your waist. Turn your hips forward. Turn your pelvis forward. Activate your core. Feel like you're reaching through the standing leg on a wall behind you. That'll give you a little bit more stability. This is a lot of balance in this posture. Lift that leg. Take one more breath. When you come out, you put a bend in the standing leg. You gently roll out, keeping your spine neutral, bringing yourself up. Take your hands down alongside your body into Tadasana, mountain. And then bring yourself out. So we're going to come down and do the last posture, which is a posture of integration, allowing all of that to sink into your tissues, that memory, that flexibility, range of motion, the strength, and all that was happening today in today's practice. Using a chair to relax the pelvis, relax the hips, deepen the socket, can be a nice way to end today's practice. So get what you need. You'll need a blanket, a chair. When you come down, make sure that you keep your spine nice and long, and you do come down with that awareness, bringing your legs up onto the chair, making sure you're completely supported with the seat on your lower leg bones to let the upper leg bones sink into the socket. Hands on belly, mouth closed, breathing in and out through your nose. Stay here, stay with your breath, breathe to your belly. Gently begin to deepen your breath. Start to bring movement to your fingers, to your toes. Bringing your knees into your chest, feel the low back press into the ground. Draw the knees in deeply, rocking side to side. Checking in with your body, checking in with today's practice. Coming onto your side, pushing up to a seated or kneeling position. Closing the practice today with a gentle humming, taking your hands together. Bring your hands together to your heart to your hands. Pay attention to the sound that your body makes from the heart to the throat. A gentle humming sound. Let your awareness follow that sound. Take an exhale to create a lot of room. Inhale deeply into that space. We bow in gratitude for the practice, the wisdom, the opportunity. Namaste. All right. So, how are you doing? Joan, are you still here? I don't know if you are here. Not sure how I feel about the vibration plates, honestly. I think there's a lot of shiny objects that we get attracted to. Nothing is going to make our bones stronger or do things for us. So whenever something happens where it's something doing thing for us, when in nature were we ever standing on an uneven surface and shaking our bodies? It's just not natural, all of these things. What is natural is bending, loading up your joints, getting up slowly from chairs, not pulling yourself up the stairs, actually committing to a practice or committing to a posture that you put your own body into, that you weight bear, you use your own body weight. There is some studies that show that these vibration plates work. Not 100% sure if we know why. There's some kind of deformation that happens at the cell membrane of the bone cells. But if you have a lot of dysfunction inside your body, if you have an unhealthy gut, if you don't have the right protein or vitamins or hydration, then no matter how much you shake, you're not going to build stronger bones. I think the real areas to focus on when we want to think about our bone health is to make sure we're absorbing and digesting and assimilating our nutrients that build bones, number one. Number two, demand more every single day. And then all those other shiny objects maybe can be a little bit supportive, but those two first things need to be addressed before anything else. So that's what I'd have to say about vibration plates. Yes. Kathy, all right. Great that you're here. Oh, Nicole, thank you. I was wondering if you were here, Nicole. I didn't see you in the beginning. Great. Beth, so good to have you here. Yeah. Is that your first time balancing in the center of the room, Nicole? Because I usually use the wall. And when I do the wall, I could go deeper because when you take out, there's flexibility, balance, and strength. Those are three main components of postures. So if you have a wall and you take balance out of the equation, you could do more with flexibility and more with strength. But if you've got balance in any of these postures, then you're focusing first on not falling. So nice to be at a wall sometimes, also nice to not be at a wall sometimes. So today for me in the Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon, coming onto my natural hip, which is a hip that I, kind of have issues with, I think, because it's the only one that is 100% me. My other hip is not, right? So the communication, so much in the right hip. So I came into it and then came out of it because I looked forward too quickly. So yes, good to challenge yourself in many different ways. Yeah, Joan, that's how I feel. I feel like, and there's a lot of different things. Women are spending thousands of dollars on these things. And I say, wait, first make sure you have a healthy gut. And the healthy gut can take years to heal. It's not a 3-month process. It's not a just this protocol or these things. It's layered, multi-layered, because we've been exposed to so many things for so many years. So the imbalance inside of our gut could take a long time to heal those microbes. Stevie, great. Nicole, all right. Okay, perfect. All right. You know what, Joan? I've got lots of videos. You do what you can. You are working out. You're here, right? You're here. So that's great. All right, ladies, I need to go. I have a course that I need to attend that's already in session. Thanks so much for joining me. Like, subscribe, share with friends, listen to my podcast, Stronger Bones Lifestyle. And I'll see you next time. Bye.